This is Keke. Hello again, loves. I know we get into all kinds of things on this podcast, but truly get ready because we are going to be discussing some mess today. Our political system, which is truly broken, and how in the hell might we fix it? How? We got to put our minds together for this one because, baby, it is a big fix. Today, I'll be chatting with actress and comedian Amanda Seales about this, but first, let's go down the rabbit hole with Sharon and see if we can jumpstart ideas, okay? Or maybe it's a jump scare. No, anyway. Hey, Mom.
Hello. How are you?
So I'm good. And I'm excited to talk about this with you because it is obviously a very interesting topic. You're a very intelligent woman. I always love to know your perspective. You've seen the world, honey. And I've got to ask you, do you think that our political system is working?
I think that's a loaded question. In what regards?
So I'll put it like this. Yeah. I think that our political system is working as it was meant to work. Okay. And a lot of people say, it's not working, it's broken, we need to fix it. And it's like, actually, I don't think it's broken, we need to fix it. I think it's working as it was meant to work, which is oppressive in a lot of ways to a lot of different groups and parties. Yes. And it's made from, it has not been updated, is what I personally think. I think at the times that it was created and the small changes that were made, they were made at the time that mirrored what society was
at that time
fighting for and able to accomplish and able to do and thinking about and understanding and advocating for and et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that as we continue to grow as a society and we continue to understand and our world changes, we have to constantly update what's happening within our political system. And that doesn't mean that it's just easy. Obviously, I know that there's an issue in terms of how to get these things done, right? But I think ultimately the political system works as it was meant to, and we have to work to update it and make it work for us all.
I agree with that. I don't think it's broken. I still think it's the best in the world. You know what I mean? I think what we, as a country, and what we've achieved in the, 200 years? I think it is the best system.
Well, I think that when people are saying broken, I think what they're saying with broken, what they really mean by broken is that it doesn't consider a lot of people. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that it unfortunately never was meant to.
Right.
And so it can't be broken. It's actually working to consider the people that it always thought were important.
Right.
So in order to
change but isn't that so kind of a little messed up considering all the immigrants that came and the slaves and all of the others that came to really make this country to be great.
It was never made to consider them. So it's not, the system's not broken. We just now are,
the world adapting.
It has to adapt. And we have to consider those people that people were not considering. You know what I mean? And there is some stuff that I feel like has to be eradicated. And I'm jumping all over the board here. But this is one thing, the electoral votes.
Yeah, I don't get that.
That shit there. I mean, no one really knows what it's about. It just seems like it's a trick.
It just didn't make any sense. They definitely need to get rid of that for real. The electoral vote shit. That's crazy.
Yeah, another thing that I'm always curious of are the parties, right?
Yeah.
As, how they subjugate everything. Right. What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like everybody should just vote as an independent? Do you feel like the whole party thing is working in anyone's favor?
I think that people should, to me, yes. I think you should vote independent and you shouldn't be beholden to any one party. I will say my family was Democrat. My mother was a Democrat. I'm just telling you the vibe in my home.
Yeah.
But that never dictated to me. I voted for whoever I felt was going to do the best for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've never voted for a Republican. I can't say that, there could never be one that said stuff I liked, but I ain't never seen it.
I never voted for a Republican president, but I did vote for a Republican governor in Illinois.
There was a governor, what was the reasons?
Thompson. Because the stuff that he was doing for the schools and doing it for the colleges and stuff, he was a good governor.
I do hate the way that there's been such an animosity towards different groups. I'm not a person that likes to be grouped in my life in general, let alone politics. I wish everything could just be individual based because anytime that you try and compartmentalize stuff, it's always going to end up something's going to be left out. Yeah. And I think when the way that we are looking at these parties, a lot of times people are hoping that this person is going to be 100% what I like or this person is 100% not what I like. And the truth is, you might like a little bit of everything from everyone. And that's the difficulty when you're when you're trying to be a citizen that cares, is how do I actually figure out what is best for me?
Yeah. And then I'm such an emotional person. I feed off of people's energy. And like, if they just come off phony, I'm done with them. I don't care what they are. If I feel like it's just a politician talking and there's no connection and no humanity, it's just talking points, I'm done with that anyway.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of pressing laws and stuff that people are trying to change right now, right? We got stuff with guns and climate change and economy, obviously racism always, sexuality, gender identity, all this type of stuff. What in your mind gets your attention the most? Where you're like, we got to stop this immediately. I know for me, it's the gun stuff. For me, that's the immediate. I mean, obviously, all of this stuff is high, but like that gun thing, I seen a video recently of a young girl playing with a gun and accidentally shooting her cousin and then shooting herself. And it's like, why do we even have machine weaponry at the tips of our fingers like that?
I don't understand that either. That to me is just crazy. I don't understand it. I understand that the NRA and the Rifle Association and all that, they're very powerful. They control a lot of politicians, and I get that whole thing. But I don't know why they wouldn't want to protect their kids or their grandkids.
Well, I guess their kids probably aren't. Their kids know better. I'm not to say their kids know better, but they're not
playing with guns.
They're not in the real world. You understand?
Yeah.
There's a different life that everybody's living. So if you're a 1%er or a 0.0001%er, the experience that your kids are having as opposed to an everyday kid that ends up getting their hands on something, even the access, the education, the resources aren't the same. And that's the problem. They're expecting everyday people to understand things that they have no way of understanding. The education system is not even created for them to understand some of this stuff. Right. So you're pretty much leaving these devices to people that don't understand what to do with it. And then they're saying, well, I know. Well, in my world, this makes sense. And it's like, but everybody's not living in your world.
That's a problem. But I also think the whole abortion, how I don't like that.
I mean, the fact that they can overturn stuff like that in general, I think is why many people in my generation have totally lost, it's just put us in a state of apathy. Because even if we get excited enough to help to change something or to fix something, what is the point if it's just going to get overturned? Like the fact that things can get overturned, it's like y'all overturning the good shit, not the bad shit. Overturn some of that bad shit y'all done put in order.
And then like why? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't get it.
You want to know what the conversation was about that? Let's overturn Roe versus Wade and what?
To prove a point, I think.
To prove the point that they could just do it.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I don't mean to say that people are in the house saying, "How can we prove a point?" But I do think to a certain degree they are overturning Roe versus Wade because I think in their archaic thinking and them trying to keep old traditions, because again, this is an old way of thinking, the system and all of that. Yeah. They're saying we need to go back to the way things used to be. And I think that's the point that they're trying to make. This shit done got out of control. We done let gay folks get married. We done let, people do this and that. Honey, shit. We got to overturn Roe versus Wade.
I'm so glad they let gay people get married because I remember when they were out here in California and they were marching, I was like, let them get married, please.
Mom, you're crazy. But I really just feel that those people that are trying to hold on to the old ways of thinking are trying to force it down our throats, that they're not going down without a fight. They're trying to send us back into the dark ages. And I think that's the big war that we're having right now in our political system is the old days versus moving forward into modern times.
Now, you're a much younger woman than me. How does that make you feel when the government can make decisions about your body?
It's very scary. I mean, it's very scary. All of it is scary, man. We live in a time where there's so many amazing things happening. There's so many freedoms, but it scares so many people to the point where, people are being attacked. You know what I mean? I see misogyny every single day on social media. I experience it in my everyday life. Yeah. And so when you see the government upholding things, it's not only scary because, that's scary on a political standpoint, but it's scary because it sends the message to society that this is okay. We worked so hard to try and pull people back from taking women's choices and having autonomy over their body and not centering yourself in a woman's life experience. Like so many people center themselves into women's existence. I'm the center of what you decide to wear. I'm the center of what you decide to do and be. I'm the center of what you how you decide to go to work. It's all of your choices and decisions should be made with me in mind. And we've worked so hard to try and let a woman's decisions be her own.
Yeah.
So it's scary when somebody is, not only when you're experiencing dumb idiots in the everyday world that are stuck in the dark ages, but then you have your country saying, well, maybe we should go back. That's very spooky. And it's just so damn messed up, because personally for me, I remember I was watching Barbie. And me and L'Oreal, my older sister, were having a conversation because at first I was trying to figure out, okay, when it comes to the Ken in the Barbie world, maybe they're trying to say that how Ken is being treated is how, women feel in everyday world because we're living in a man's world.
Right.
And then when I started getting into the discussion with L'Oreal some more, she brought up a greater point where she said she actually feels like what they're trying to say is that a matriarchy nor a patriarchy is good. And we actually need to have an equal world because just in the same way that when Barbie entered the everyday world, she became, insignificant or who she was not a woman of power and et cetera. She felt so disempowered. It also was fucked up on the other end because Ken didn't even have a damn house in Barbie world. That motherfucker was outside. He was outside of Barbie's house just standing there looking crazy. And I think that there's so much fear when it comes to, like, I remember I was talking to a guy and he was trying to tell me, that damn feminism. I said, you've got it wrong because feminism is just like Black Lives Matters. It only exists in opposition to oppression.
Right.
So you can't say that feminism is the answer to misogyny. No, misogyny, like feminism only exists because of misogyny.
Right.
We have to have an ideology that helps us fight against what is oppressing us.
Right.
So feminism is not an attack. And this is, again, people are centering themselves in women's movements.
Right.
We're existing to try and stop from being oppressed.
Right. And when you look at someone like, I was listening to the news this morning about Kamala Harris. They were saying that she's coming into her stride and, people are feeling her energy and her newfound voice. And she's basically said, I don't have a newfound voice. This is who I've always been. But, now we're talking about subjects that I feel passionate about and I can talk about them from a passionate place. And then someone was saying, you guys don't realize that not only is Kamala fighting being a woman and misogyny, but a woman of color and a woman of biracial background.
Yeah, she has her own
so
thing.
So she got a bunch of things, bunch of darts she's dodging.
And when it comes to Kamala, it's a big thing as well because a lot of people were talking about her, and I know that people dig up her past and they don't like all the people that she's put in jail, and that's its own can of worms, right?
Yeah.
But when I look at what Kamala is trying to do when it comes to the maternal health, I see that as to combat all of our children that are getting lost in the system, whether it be foster care or whether it be the jail system.
She's trying to prevent that jail.
Prevent it because by the time that they get to the prosecutor, can't nobody help.
Yeah.
But if you get the help for the mothers in the beginning and you make sure that the mothers are being taken care of, then there's somebody that can take care of that child. This all goes back to what we're talking about with misogyny. I mean, even me, right? I'm online and people are trolling me, and I've always experienced that. But sometimes I feel like it's even more since I've become a mom. Right. And all it made me think about was, wow, people don't give a fuck about mothers.
They don't.
My baby is only freaking 6 months old.
Right.
6 months old. I'm going through all type of stuff that I won't even know I'm going through until months from now. Right. And people have no problem attacking me. Now, maybe my world is large because I'm an entertainer, right? But that's all relative. If I'm a mom that's living in whatever type of town and my block is my world and my block is disrespecting me and attacking me and I ain't got no support and I ain't got no help, what do you think's going to happen to my baby?
I mean...
Like, let's get real.
Yeah. you like you're saying, you have a support system and all that, but what does happen to the girl that's a regular girl that's being ostracized in her neighborhood, or her boyfriend is attacking her or whatever?
Yeah.
Look at all the attacks that it's your fault. You shouldn't have had a baby by him.
I mean, that's literally what women are experiencing. Yeah. And no one cares that they're mothers. No one centers the fact that they just gave birth to a child and they might be going through a lot. And there's no compassion. It's looked at as if it is a phantom illness. And let me just tell you something.
Yeah.
Being a mother, and I know you know this, Mom,
Yeah.
it is like insanity. The moment that I had my son, I was probably scared the first couple of weeks thinking, damn, is something going to happen to him?
Right.
And having to calm myself down and understand that
Right.
it's okay to love something this much. It's okay, and I've gone through extensive therapy in my life, so it's like I was ready. I had the dialogues. I had the Eckhart Tolle scripts ready. I said, my thoughts are not me, and I am above my thoughts. I'm the consciousness behind what I'm seeing, and I'm the observer.
What you're saying now, what you're saying now
shit.
is real talk, and people need to hear it. So go ahead and finish.
It's serious shit. And so it's like, to imagine that, again, I just think people want to see a better world.
Right.
But then they want to disrespect women and they want to disrespect mothers. But mothers are the ones that bring life. I'm sorry, but if you're mad, go take it up with God. Like, at the end of the day, it's not our fault. We create life, and that life has to be protected. And so when you don't protect us, we can't protect the children. And when you can't protect the children, the children can't grow to their best ability.
That's right.
And it's just so unfortunate, you know what I mean? And so that's the whole Kamala thing. I appreciate what she's doing with maternal health, because I didn't realize it so much until I became a mom, and I realized how much different it is to be a mom and trying to raise a child and trying to keep your mental health in order and making sure that you're not being, put in harm's way, because that harm will come back on your baby.
Right.
Mom, you're amazing. And honestly, if you ran for president, I would vote yes. I think you could solve a lot of our problems. Hell, maybe you will be my campaign manager if I decide to run for president. I was a VP once.
I will be there. Let me know.
Thanks. All right. I got to talk to Amanda on this stuff, because I know she's going to have some good answers. Whew. Baby, this is Keke. All right, y'all, get ready, because we are getting into it today. I am thrilled to be sitting here with my next guest. You may know her as Tiffany DuBois from Insecure, or from her brand new political comedy documentary, In Amanda We Trust. Please welcome to the show, Amanda Seales. Amanda, I was just telling you before, first of all, I'm so happy to have you on the show. How are you?
Thanks, Cakes. I'm well. How are you?
And I'm good. And In Amanda We Trust is such a dope concept. I mean, I've talked about a lot of different things on the podcast, but not a lot of people want to talk about politics, because it can, be depressing, and then also it can be controversial. But you have never steered away from talking about politics. You've always been like, yo, this is what I think. Fuck if you like it or not. Have you always been that way?
I mean, it's not even if you like it or not. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, we have to be talking about this. It is happening to us. It's not happening around us or above us. It is happening to us. Women were able to have abortions. Now they're not. Women are literally dying because men were sitting around a table saying they don't deserve to live if they are trying to have a baby. Like, that's something that's happening to us, like legislation and these laws. I think a lot of us just don't know how they happen. And so we think we don't have any control over it.
And I love how you talked about it in this way, because I do think that, it is annoying sometimes that politics makes people so nervous. Obviously, no disrespect if it's not a topic that people aren't interested in. But to your point, because it's not casual enough, and it's not like we have this kind of whoa about it, I think that is the reason why people don't know as much as they should, or, aren't as comfortable in the conversation around it, because it's this woo-woo voodoo thing. And so I do love the way that you make it a normal thing. Yes, we'll talk about that. What do you mean by that, actually?
Y'all, they want us to be dumb so that we don't question things. That's by design. So they've made politics this thing that exists in the clouds, and people think that it's none of their business. People think that it's beyond their reach. People think these people are smarter than them. Those people are smarter, or they must have more experience, etc. Politicians are just people who decided they wanted to be in politics. Like,
and be in public service.
Yeah, like Lauren Boebert didn't even pass her GED before she was elected. So it's not about elitism. And I think, the more people know about something, the more willing they are to talk about it. So that's what it is.
So what inspired this idea? In Amanda We Trust. Where were you? What were you doing? And why did you say, this is what I want to do? It's super creative.
Thank you. Creativity oftentimes comes out of necessity, right?
Always.
Absolutely.
That's
what really happens. You set out like, I'm going to do this. And then some other shit happens. You're like, oh, I guess we got to do this now, and that's really what happened here. I was originally going to do a stand-up special. following up to my first one, Abby Noen from 2019. I said, we've been sitting down for a long time. You've got time now. So let's let's get focused. And I was setting out to do it. And then I remembered I'm not wealthy. And so, I mean, I got a couple dollars, but like, you trying to.
I get exactly what you're saying.
Like you trying to follow up the HBO one. You like, but I don't got HBO dollars, right? So I don't want this to look like the janky in my garage homeboy LLC version of the special.
For sure.
So I said, let me just reel it in a little bit. And I was going to use this footage that I had from the Kennedy Center. And then I was going to also like intersperse some little segments in between it. And I said, okay, we're going to go back to DC. We're going to do some segments that talk about politics and talk about me like possibly trying to run for office. And that'll be just kind of funny. That'll be like funny little moments that will happen and pop in through the stand-up. But girl, when we went out to DC, we got such amazing footage. It was so good. It was so robust that we were like, dang, I feel like we should try and do more with this. Then when I started looking at the stand-up, I was like, this stand-up isn't really hitting. Like, here's the thing. I shot that stand-up in May of last year. And then I toured for 6 months. So my jokes got stronger. Those same jokes over those 6 months, they became stronger. They became more developed. They were hitting harder. And I was like, I don't know that I feel so comfortable anymore about putting these out at their like infancy stage, even though they got the laughs, baby, they get the laughs. Even at the baby stage, they're getting the laughs. But
but you just seen them get harder laughs. Yeah, exactly.
So then I said, you know what does it look like if we just turn the interstitials into the whole project? What does it look like?
It looks amazing.
Thank you.
It does. I love hearing the background of how you got there and how it's so not intentional and unconventional, because I literally went into it thinking to myself, I love that she did it this way. I love that it's kind of like this avant-garde, we in the world kind of vibe, because it does get kind of boring when everybody's just on a stage and everything is just so expected. It does. I mean, it's good when you see somebody doing something else and doing their own version. But
you know why I could do it? Yeah. You know why I could do it like that?
Why?
Because I did it myself. I didn't have to get approval. I didn't have to go to somebody and say, hey, can I do this? When we had to pivot, the decision to pivot happened in this room on this couch with me like, what are we going to do? Okay, this is what we're going to do. And, I spoke to my director, James Bland. Shout out to my homie, James Bland. And we both agreed that this would be the right move. And then we made the move.
That's so good.
When you support this project, you're supporting an independent creative. It's not coming through a studio. I'm not a scab crossing the picket lines. Like, this is coming from Smart, Funny, and Black Productions.
I love that. It definitely costs to be the boss, but like you said, the best part about it is that you get the final say. Like, it's definitely like my pockets is hurting, but at least it's my own thing. When you're watching and you were editing and you were producing this, at any point were you thinking about the political fatigue? And what I mean by that is obviously we're kind of sometimes in a constant state of like doom and gloom. And sometimes people do just want to escape. And so in this climate, was there any apprehension, or were you making sure that your balance was perfect with the humor so that people, weren't afraid to watch this and think that, oh shit, I'm about to be just, thinking about the kind of stuff that I'm really. Yeah, bogged down. Yeah.
I mean, listen, I do a syndicated radio show every day, The Amanda Seales Show. And even myself, like, I had to create balance, because it was like, if I got to talk about this stuff every day, I'm going to lose my mind. So like on Thursday, we have group chat Thursdays where we just chat about different topics versus like talking about the news. Then on Fridays, we have Black Joy Fridays, where the whole Friday, we don't have no bad news. And I had to do that for my own sanity. So I get it. I get that people do have fatigue. It really is a dark time right now. And so that is actually the crux of the comedy in this, is that just because it's a dark time, we can't escape, baby. We cannot practice avoidance. We can't just turn a blind eye. We can't just shutter ourselves into like a false sense of security. But we can find new ways to approach it that actually bring joy, that actually like empower, that excite. And that's what this project is aspiring to do.
I love that. Well, let's get into the tea of the government real quick, because obviously we know this system is just like, it's really like
janky, raggedy.
Fuck? Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't want to say other than voting, right? Because there's so many different levels to it, but other than the obvious that we know, how do we get some serious changes done in this country?
It starts with us waking up. It starts with us caring just as much about who is an elected official in our neighborhood as we do about like
Definitely that.
Krayshawn and Blueface. I mean, we have to care about things that are actually going to affect us. The way people cared about you and your child's father situation, they need to care that way about them and their senator.
And why do you think pop culture has such a chokehold like that and that politics don't? Because I mean, look, this is my thing. When I think back in the old days, I wasn't there, right? But I do have an idea that people was really looking to Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and all these people like, yo, I care about what they have to say. I care about what it is they're doing. What is it that you think? I mean, I'll tell you what I think happened as a millennial is that we just stopped believing that there was any validity to the system. So much shit started happening to where we just became apathetic. Like, for instance, like how we had Roe versus Wade, but you just overturned it like that. Like, what's the point of, I think that they became apathetic seeing that there's so much just, bullshit going down. Oh, you got electoral votes. Well, what the hell is that? Like, so much stuff started to happen to where people almost look at the government as a bit of a joke.
The joke's on the people. That the joke is on the people. Like, just because you don't think the government is real don't mean it's not. You know what I think? I think part of the apathy also came out of complacency. I think a lot of people saw Obama become president and thought, see, all right, they got it, they got it. And then, there was a large movement behind Bernie. And so then when Bernie Sanders didn't get the nomination, a lot of people had a tantrum about that. And it was just like, I'm going to withhold my vote or I'm going to not support. And that's going to show them. And what I don't think people grasp is that like politics and government is an actual system that affects your life. It's not your 6th grade class president popularity contest. Like, it actually has repercussions, and it is people. It's not special people. It's people. So when people try and disassociate that and make it like it's not within their grasp.
Do you think that the government or the political people that are campaigning and working, do you think that they're actually doing a good job making what they're trying to do digestible to the next generation so that they feel engaged? Like, do you think it's kind of old the way they're doing things?
To an extent. I think there's also it's a tough line to toe because if they come on here like doing a TikTok dance while they tell you about the next legislation, then folks is like, stop pandering to me. Stop pandering.
It's so true.
So it's a tough line. It's a tough line to toe. Now, by the way, the Republicans, they not doing anything real what's the word, intellectual, or they're not really like speaking above the board. They just got real basic. We gonna make white people feel good. That's
but I do feel like there was something there. They were hitting on a pop culture. When you talk about the pop culture piece, I think they was hitting on a pop culture piece with Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do think that there is an element of that. Like you said, not pandering, but like it seems as if there has to be there's like a language issue. There's a language issue in communication to how people can feel like they can grab a hold on to something, and I think that's why a lot of people connected to him. It's crazy as it is.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that their messaging was easy to get to people because their messaging was very simple. Like, the things that need to happen for actual change for the good aren't necessarily as simple in how they are explained. So we could say, like, it's a very easy message to say, hey, white people, they're taking your country and I'm going to get it back for you.
Yeah, right.
Like that, you can, but it's not as easy to turn around and say, hey, black people, we're fixing shit for you, because there really isn't the pieces in place to fix shit for black people. Like,
and I personally don't think they fix shit for white people either. But I guess
certain white people.
Right. They just fixing shit for rich people and more rich people, and whoever them is, that's who's benefiting.
So even like when Kamala, even when Kamala was on your podcast, it's like, I think there's something to be said for like, you need to connect with younger folks. You need to connect with folks that are in the space. But like, once you get in that space, how are you using that space to really get like ideas across for how people can get involved? How are you using that space to really like get people excited? And I think that there's still like you said, there's
There's
still
some massaging that has to be done. Yeah, it's true. I mean, what issues are the most important to you? I know that's a loaded question. You probably have a ton, but right now, I mean, at the top of your mind, what are just some things that bug you?
Well, voting rights bugs me. Police immunity bugs me. Roe v. Wade bugs me.
Yeah.
College loans bugs me.
Mm-hmm.
And gun laws and the
Gun
lack
laws,
thereof. And the immense lack thereof bug me.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the biggest thing that bugs me is the impunity of the Supreme Court. And I don't think a lot of people understand that the real problem in this nation about the real thing impeding us from moving forward is the Supreme Court. And what they've done is they have successfully not only packed the Supreme Court with a certain type of judge, but they have also created an impunity for the Supreme Court. So we have 3 branches of government. Okay, we have executive, we have legislative, we have judicial. Executive is the president, legislative is the Congress, which is the Senate and the House of Representatives. Judicial is the Supreme Court. Now we know about checks and balances. If the president do something, then we can go, hey, president, what was that? We ain't like that. If someone in the House or the Senate does something, or the House and the Senate, they act up, there are measures. When people in the Senate, when the judges in the Supreme Court who are put there for life, when they act up, there are no measures in place to really challenge them or impeach them. And so they are creating laws in tandem with the president on the side and in tandem with the House and the Senate that end up affecting this nation for years and years and years and years and years. And they should be really the ones that we are looking at and challenging. And instead, we have let these people put them in a position where they can use them.
This is, I don't even mean to put this on you, but we're talking about, how do you think that something like that could be reversed? Like, should there be laws in place that control
It's going to take time. It's going to take time. It's going to take education. Like, I'm a smart broad. I went to school. I liked school. So like, it wasn't even like I wasn't paying attention, but I didn't even know how impactful the Supreme Court has been in getting us to where we are. And
but I think that
I
think more people are like that, Amanda. And I think that a lot of times people are afraid to be honest with that. But I don't think any of us know all the answers and ends. And we got to constantly actively be talking about it. Yeah, it does. Because it's true. It's so true. I talk about that all the time, that it's like, people don't want to admit, and maybe that's why they don't talk about it. They don't want to admit that they don't know, and they don't ask questions, and then we just don't.
So that's why we have to create spaces. Like, even just the fact that when people say like, oh, who did you vote for? That's personal. No, it's not. That's not personal. Like, we all live right here. That's actually like very public. That should be very public information. I think it's it's going to take time because of exactly what you said, because we have to undo the work. Check this out. 2020, we had Black Lives Matter protests erupt all over the world, right? And it wasn't just Black people. Okay, people of all shades, shapes, sizes, creeds, class, etc., were involved. You think they didn't notice that? That's why they're banning all the books. That's why they're trying to change the way history is taught. That's why they are literally undermining African American studies, because they're like, oh, wait, people were waking up and trying to like be in support of Black folks. We can't let that happen, because in order for white supremacist power to succeed, everybody has to be uninformed on the fact that it is based on BS.
Yeah.
So that's an example though of like, we saw how people were waking up. That can still happen. People can. We saw people wake up, and we started to see shifts start to happen. Now they have suppressed it, but that was a little glimpse into the fact that people
from there to them possibly trying to overturn affirmative action, to them already overturning, Roe versus Wade, and just anything to I was just talking about that earlier, how it all just seems like an attempt to keep things in the past. There's a feeling and there's a thought that there's a loss of these old traditions, and the old traditions are just rooted in oppression. And so everything is about trying to take us back there. And it definitely is spooky. Obviously in your documentary, it's about you, possibly running for office. Would you ever run for office?
You can never say never, right?
Come on. What position would you run for if you did? Would you want to be a mayor, a senator? Would you want to be a president?
No, I was saying never say never. because you just really don't know. Like, I mean, 3 weeks ago, I thought I was with like my life partner, and now I haven't heard from the nigga in 3 weeks. So you just don't know what life is presenting.
Girl, please
you
go
with.
to hell. You might hear from his ass today.
I hope not. But I say all that to say that I can sit here though and confidently tell you I have no desire to run for office. I have no, and let me tell you why. Because I don't really believe that you can change it from the inside. I think you got to have people.
I love this perspective because I am such a strong believer of believing that you gotta fix shit from the inside. So I love to hear, like, if you don't fix it from the inside, what do you think you do, Amanda? Because that's interesting. I love to hear that. Maybe that's
you need both. You need the inside and the outside. That's my belief, right? If you look at the Berlin Wall, it didn't come down with one side. It was both sides being like, let's take this down. So I look at it that way. And I, for one, find myself, I would be ineffective on the inside because I would end up incarcerated because I'm going to hit somebody. I know I'm going to slap somebody because they're going to get out of line. I am so impressed by Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, representatives in Tennessee, because the stories that they tell about how them white folks be acting up and they do not respond, I'd be like, y'all are cut different. So I'm an outside the house bringing it down type of gal. You know, in slavery times, I might have been inside the house, but right now I'm outside the house.
I often wonder, like, if like people are always thinking about back in those days, and I'm like, I don't know if I would have made it because as much as I want to believe that I'm somebody that, could know how to, waver in and out and figure out, I'm like, man, I might just be on some Nate. What's the man, that movie that Nate Parker did?
Nat Turner.
I might end up being on some shit like that. Okay. In the documentary, you talked to a lot of people. So I want to know, like, what were some of the things they were talking about that surprised you? Or, like, was there any particular moments that you were like, damn, this is, I didn't think that this would be the vibe? Or,
I mean, like when Representative Jamal Bowman said that he was a C student when it comes to like knowing how all this works, how the government works. And you're just like, dang, you on the inside and you a C student. But it's because it's so, like you said earlier, the electoral college and the way the votes are counted and it's a moving goalpost.
Absolutely.
By design.
Very much a moving goalpost, girl. You
by
said
design.
That.
So, I think that was really telling. And I feel like there was also just this moment where Ilhan Omar, when I interviewed her, she spoke to what do the people want? And I thought it was hella dope because then in the next segment, I'm actually interviewing folks on the street about what they want. And there were people that echoed exactly what she says. So I was like, you see, this is what I'm saying, y'all. Like, we need these types of public servants, not politicians. We need public servants. We need people who are not trying to be a politician for life. They just trying to get in there and move the needle.
Baby, this is Keke Palmer, yeah.
I love that. I mean, I think right now we're so divided, right? Like I always known the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, but I feel like right now it's like you damn near Bloods and Crips. When you talk about which one of those groups that you are for, why do you think that it's gotten so dang on like vicious with that? It's like whoever you vote for or whatever side you on, people feel like they know your whole identity and everything you about. As opposed to back in the day, I feel like it was like, well, that's who I voted for this time, or that's who I thought was the best this time. It wasn't so like based on your identity type vibe.
Well, because I feel like the parties themselves have become a lot more. They have a lot more discerning characteristics. At one point it was like people be like, "Oh, Democrats." People love to say this. They're the same. They're the same. I think for a time there was a lot of like not that different situations. Like there was Republicans and Democrats were just like Republican light. You know what I mean? That was the case for quite some time. But now we can see very clearly through the actions and the words, oh, y'all are politicians.
Why do you think that is?
Are the devil? Okay.
Why do y'all think that? Why do you think that is? Like, why such extremes? Is it because of the forward moving of our world, of our society, or is it right? So they just chose a side.
Let me tell you something, Keke. White supremacy is not some theoretical thing. Like race was created for racism to work, not the other way around. Not the other way around. Racism was a concept that was created for capitalist purposes. Okay.
Yeah. So I believe those are the main legs. Those are the main legs they still standing on. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So so a lot of times people are like thinking about race from an emotional standpoint. Like these white people don't like us. It's not that. It's that the people that are actually in power, need us as Black folks and anyone but white folks. They need us to be down for them to be up.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not even personal. It's
Yeah.
just a bottom line. If
Yeah.
we want the power, they
Yeah.
have to be powerless.
Yeah,
Period.
that's literally that is like literally the vibe of how our system. It's like the system had no. It's so infantile. It was just like the only way our system works is to keep some people down. People have to be down in order for us to be up, and that's the system. But there's no growth path there, because a real thriving country, everybody has an opportunity to succeed. The more that we all have, the more that we can all have. If I'm doing good just because you're doing bad, then I'm not really doing good. And so it's like,
yeah, but a lot of Black people don't understand that. You know that, right? A lot of Black people feel like, well, if I'm doing good enough, then what's the problem?
no, it's not. It's like a fake good. Go over there to Sweden. They doing good for real.
Yeah.
They doing good for real.
And that's why we also got to get out this country and like get your passports and just go see some shit. You know, go see some shit and be like, oh, wow. Because we get tricked into thinking it's the only way.
Yeah, and that it's the best way. Do you think we're past the point of fixing this country? Like, based off what we just said, do you think that is the caveat to America, and it's like you got to take it or leave it?
I mean, I think, we are a constantly growing society. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, shit, if the aliens come and scorch the earth, then we going to see something else. We have to
Come on, aliens.
remember.
I'm here for an alien arrival.
I mean, I would love for the aliens to arrive, and then I find out I've been one of them the whole time. Like, I really would feel good about that. I'm like, I knew I was different, y'all. I knew I was different. Come and take me home.
I love
but
that.
I think, we always have to remember this. There was always a before now.
Mm-hmm.
There was a world. There was a world before racism. So why can't there be a world after? There was a world. There was a world before us.
Yeah.
Was
there a world before the patriarchy, Amanda? Was there a world before that?
You know what I think we also need to remember? We are very indoctrinated to thinking that the world is only the view through Western eyes. Mm-hmm. There are still matriarchal societies that exist to this day, and they don't exist within the walls of Westernism. And we have to understand that there's a bigger world. There are Amazonian tribes that ain't never rocked with us out here. They're like, we over here doing our thing. There's a tribe, I want to say it's an African country, and I wish I
did love Woman King because of that. I did love Woman King because
but
of
even
that.
Woman King was patriarchal. You know what I'm saying? But there's
really, you felt that it was.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a king telling them what to do.
Girl, I hate you so bad. You're not gonna let nothing slide. You're not gonna let nothing freaking slide. You're a mess.
But there is a tribe, and I can't remember where in Africa that they are, but there is a tribe of women who literally there's no men in the tribe. And when they have sons and the sons reach a certain age, they got to leave. They gotta go. They gotta go.
I quickly, before I get into our game, I've got to ask did you see Barbie?
Of course I saw Barbie, yeah.
What did you think of it? What was your takeaway?
Whew.
And I ask because I think it comes in line with what we're talking about, patriarchy versus a matriarchal system, etc. So I'm just curious what you took from what they were saying with that.
To be honest, I'm still thinking about it. It was a lot.
Right?
It was a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It was a lot. I mean, I think on a basic note, it was just identifying the fact that like it was a fantasy world where patriarchy didn't exist. Like, and that world is still a fantasy. And so in the real world, we're still trying to figure out how does that actually exist in the real world. And the fact that it took her, Barbie, coming to the real world to realize like, oh, I need to create my own identity because as a Barbie, I'm just a stereotype, or not even stereotype. I'm just like
I'm still something someone else has decided me to be.
Designed, yes. And I think a lot of women feel that way too. And so that's why when you say things like, I'm a mother, you are saying in so many ways, I am determining how that is for me.
Absolutely.
And I have the right to do that finally. And I'm going to live in that. Stand on it 10 toes down.
Absolutely. And it's like I was watching it with my sister, and we were getting into discussion about it too. And it was just like, also I feel like it's speaking to individualism. Like even where Ken was concerned, Ken was like, I need you, Barbie. I need you, Barbie, so much. I'm willing to try and control you because I need you to validate me. And that comes from a place of you not feeling validated in your ownness, And so I really loved what they were saying is like, You got to just be you. You got to just be who you want to be. You got to feel good in yourself, not in adjacent to or with this or of that. And so, again, it was a lot. I got to get Greta on the damn podcast to dive into all that too.
That's a very real thing, though. The individualism, insecurity is eating us alive.
It is, man. I hate it because we all have it, but you don't have to let it control you. You know what I mean,
baby? I know a lot of single, brilliant women solely because of insecurity, and that insecurity is oftentimes rooted in just the way our society expects people to show up, but doesn't give them the tools to do so. And so we gotta be better about our individual responsibilities to ourselves and understanding. We got to understand that loving yourself means making your best effort at giving you the tools to experience this life to the fullest. And then you are able to experience life to the fullest with someone else.
I agree. And loving yourself is not an attack on someone else. To love yourself is you. You have the right to love yourself, and it shouldn't be seen as a I think a lot of times that's where insecurity comes from, is that people thinking that someone's love for oneself is a not love for
baby,
them.
a lot of that is because a lot of us can't recognize love. You know that, right?
Oof. Speak on it. I was just talking about Lacan and talking about words, and it's the thing, like, love for me is not love for you or love for that. Like we all saying love, but everybody not showing it the same way. It's so crazy, girl. I could talk to you for days. Do you know what your big three is?
The big three?
Yeah. Do you know what your stuff is? Like your rising and your moon and stuff?
Oh, I'm a Cancer, Virgo.
Oh my gosh, no way. That's crazy. I'm a Cancer rising, I'm a Virgo sun, and then I'm a Sagittarius moon. That's the only thing that shakes shit up into another level. But that is crazy. I should have known that you had that Virgo in there, Miss Girl.
Virgo, baby. Because we be like, hold on now. When you said earlier, you don't miss nothing. That's the Virgo. The Virgo's like, now hold up. Now. Exactly. Let's not move too fast past that.
Exactly.
That was the thing. No,
okay,
you're
amazing.
We don't know what love is. And let me just say this, Keke, and thank you. I love you too.
Yes.
That also adds to how we need to show up as a community, though. Mm-hmm. Because us showing up in our civic duty and us being awakened to how we can change our community, that's love. Mm-hmm. And this idea of love as a word, love is an action.
Yeah.
Love is an action, and you got to understand that. And I know we say that like real esoterically, like love is an action. But ultimately, a lot of people are performing love.
What they think it is,
Yeah, but they not believing it. And that's why shit crumbles.
It's true. I couldn't agree with you more. Now, this conversation is amazing. It's got me fired up, and I hope that everybody that's listening took something good from it. And I thank you for all the work that you're doing, because it's so important. We definitely have to have these conversations more. And before we go, we're gonna play a little game called "But Again."
I want you on my podcast. This is where we have we have these conversations on small doses. We give them big doses.
Period. It's done. We it's done. You ain't even gotta ask. So we're going to play a game called The Gag Is, where I'm going to read you a common phrase that we hear about politics, and you're going to tell me your honest and possibly unpopular opinion on the subject. Are you ready?
The gag is. Yes.
Okay. Now, I just want to make it clear that these are not my opinions. They're just opinions we tend to have to clarify that. These are just opinions that we tend to hear when it comes to politics. So with that, here we go.
Okay.
I am socially liberal, but fiscally conservative. But the gag is?
The gag is you're full of shit. The gag is you're full of shit. There is no way to be both. You can't be socially liberal and fiscally conservative, because the fiscal part of things affects the social. To say that you're fiscally conservative means that you want taxes to be reserved for means that you want taxes to be less for the ones who are at the top. And that right there alone affects the social, right? So that means that liberally you're like, well, I socially am in support of like the people. Well, baby, if you fiscally want the people paying all the money, you ain't down.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more.
And let me also say, then if you're like, I'm socially liberal, you're like, yeah, I'm for LGBTQIA plus movements. I'm for Black Lives Matter, etc. But then if fiscally, you're like, yeah, but I'm actually conservative fiscally. Well, the fiscal conservatives do not want money to support those groups.
Exactly.
They want the money to support the po-po.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So it
ma'am,
doesn't, it's a complete contradiction.
it's
Yes.
antithetical. Cut it out.
Come on, antithetical. Yes, words. Okay. I'm just one
Tequila.
person. My vote won't make a difference, but the gag is.
Everybody's vote makes a difference. And what we have to really truly understand is that if we don't like the way the voting system operates, then we are going to have more of us than ever challenging
Yeah.
the voting system. So, like right now, we have this thing where the Electoral College comes in and then they get to be the ones who choose the votes, right? So, here's the gag. The gag is that when you have such an enormous groundswell of folks that are placing a vote, it is not possible for the electoral college to then change that vote without there being a huge pushback, right? Now, what happened in Florida with Al Gore in it is exactly that, where it was like, wait a minute, Florida, we voted for Al
Mm-hmm.
Gore, and then y'all made it about Bush, but not enough people pushed back. Not just
Right.
a side note, by the way, Amy Coney Barrett, who is on the Supreme Court, was one of the lawyers that helped make that happen and steal the election in Florida. The gag. The gag.
Oof.
Okay. So,
Woo.
and we also have to remember that in our local elections, which matter more than anything at this point, our local elections
Mm-hmm.
actually do be coming down to small numbers of votes. There's people that
Yeah.
be winning by 1,000. So your vote does
Mm-hmm.
matter.
Yes, I agree. Okay, politics are too depressing, so I don't like to follow them. But the gag is.
They following you. They're following you. They're affecting how you get to live. They're affecting things that you don't even know. Because you was
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't have a kid, so I don't care about what's happening in the school board. And then you
Oof.
got pregnant, and now you have a kid, and now your kid can't read the books because the books are banned. And it didn't matter for you. It didn't
Oof.
matter for you. You know,
Oof.
you was like, oh, you was like, oh, like I'm not gay, so what do I care about trans, et cetera, et cetera. But then your boo has a relative who is trans and who is getting
Yep.
attacked by the Proud Boys, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Ugh.
We're all in this. We're all in
Yes,
this,
we
whether we
are.
like it
We
or
are
not. And
all in this.
can I say this though? I don't. Nobody expects everybody to be everywhere all at once. It's not possible. But I
Mm-hmm.
just want us to start really like being conscious about the fact that we're being we are a part of a system that controls us whether we decide to be a part of it or not.
Yes. So you might as well get up on there and do what you can when you can, because it, like you said,
Yeah,
it's gonna follow you regardless.
regardless.
Okay, I don't vote party. I vote for the best person for the job. But the
Good.
gag is.
The gag is that's how you should be voting. The gag is that's how you should be voting. You should be voting for the best person to do the
Yep.
job. But you got to take your emotions out of that.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and you got to take your religion out of that. Cuz baby, like that, what is
Ooh.
that? You know, this idea that everyone needs to be, it's just a flawed concept to think that if everybody was Christian, everything would be cool, because even Christians understand that within Christianity, there are a lot of not cool Christians. Okay. So
Well, I mean,
this,
people are people. So it's like, it doesn't matter, again, just because you are in a certain group or a certain thing doesn't mean everybody's great all the time. Doesn't mean everybody's a nice person and
there are
means well.
cults,
Yeah.
there are denominations that have rules that make certain people not valuable, right? That
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
like create hierarchies, and that is a real thing. So to vote within that mindset is shooting yourself in the foot, so to speak, or nailing yourself to the cross if we're
Because
keeping
you're
it in the
assuming it
metaphor.
makes somebody a good person automatically.
And
Yeah.
they know that, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
so they're using it against folks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
These people
Okay.
ain't Christians. You think these people that are trying to kill each other and saying that guns are okay, you think Jesus would have been at the table with these people? He would have been flipping the table.
Last one. Politics don't matter to me, but the gag is.
You matter to politics. That's the
I
gag.
love that. I
That's the
love
gag.
that.
You matter to politics. They're using you. They may use you for census reasons. They may
Mm-hmm.
use you
Ooh.
listen. They may use you to determine why they get to have more politicians in your district or less
Ooh.
politicians in your district. You look at Alabama. Alabama, they had a case that they brought to the Supreme Court where they were like, "All right, we feel that there was a mandate placed during the Voting Rights Act that said that there has to be a number of districts reflective of the black people in these districts." Well, why is it about race? Because it's America. And contrary to popular belief,
Yeah.
it is always about race. This is a country that literally discriminated against people solely on their race. And so there were provisions put into our Constitution after these, after the abolition of slavery, they were after Reconstruction, after the Civil War, there were provisions put into the Constitution strictly based on how do we bring equality for Black people. Now, the Supreme Court ended up really gutting that and really turning it back. And we actually talk about that a little bit in the documentary in Amanda We Trust. But I say all that to say that in Alabama, they were like, well, we have enough Black people for there to be 2 districts for voting that represents the Black people of these districts. So why are we not representing that? They took it to the Supreme Court. They won. Keke, they won. And there are people that were counted in that district, though, that probably have never voted, right? That don't even know. But it was important that they were present in that number to give more access. So that's a positive explanation. Now, is Alabama actually doing what the Supreme Court ruled? No, because they like, we're going to do what we want to do. But that's a whole other episode.
Well, you're amazing. I love you. I thank you for coming on the show. And I cannot wait for an Amanda We Trust, because I know I'm going to laugh, but I'm also know I'm going to learn something. You know what I'm saying?
You are going to laugh. You're going to learn. And I just want to commend you for being so graceful and having such poise and having such just such fervor for like really living in your truth. I think it's very frightening for people to do. And I know a lot of people are inspired watching you do it every day, baby.
That means the world to me. It really does. And I always appreciate and see your support. So you're awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So answer my DM so that we can get you on the podcast.
Done. It's done.
And people, go watch an Amanda We Trust. It's available at Amanda.
Watch it.
Go to my Instagram, follow me. Go to my YouTube, subscribe, Amanda Seals TV. All the good things, all the fun things.
Chip, chip, cheerio.
Here we go.
Whoa, that was a journey. We got work to do, but I know we can do it. We got to keep the faith, keep up the fight, and work together to change it. We will survive. Hey, until next time. You know it's your girl,
Baby,